Hello, comics fans. This is Ash. It's Ash on Comics, bringing another comic haul video, unboxing, all that good stuff. It is Thanksgiving. At the time of this recording, it is way in the wee hours of the morning. So it's not Friday anymore. It's technically ticked over to Saturday. Black Friday is over. Thanksgiving is over. Hopefully you had a good feast, a good time with your family. Hopefully, yeah, and this is my favorite holiday, because it's the least pretentious and it's the most meaningful. It's not about getting presents. It's not about decorating your house. It's not about doing all that stuff. It's about just being with your family and giving thanks for what you have. So hopefully you were able to do that and get some good grub. Yeah, I was going to do a video on Wednesday, but you probably heard Diamond didn't ship out any books, which means I didn't get any books. So, fortunately, my comic store got books today, which was actually yesterday, Friday. I picked them up, but I haven't had a chance to do anything until tonight because it's just a busy weekend. But I did get something in the mail. You may recognize that. Look at that! Perch is now officially a sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. I backed that Gemini Jump. Look at that's not a knife. I backed the Gemini Jump book. If you're not aware, if you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Then I guess you're whatever. It's a book. I'll be honest with you. I backed it. I thought it was a Perch book at first. I didn't even pay attention. I was like, oh, Perch doing a book? Oh, I'll back it. And then it turned out he was just kind of associated with the book and was partnered. And I was like, you know what? I'm still happy to support. God, I can't open this. I'm timid to use a knife and like cut into a book. They really wrap this... bravo on the fulfillment. I don't know who did these, but they, it's got like tape on every seam. So, which is good, I guess, if you don't know if it's going to be near moisture, rain, snow. I mean, not that the cardboard would keep it, yeah, whatever. It will it's better than some of the stuff I've got. So bravo on the mailers, the nice rigid mailers, and yeah, look at this, some little cross styrofoam. That's cool. I guess it adds some padding to help protect the book. Oh, look at this. It's got a little oh, is that the comic? Oh, okay, so this, inside this envelope or whatever is the comic. This looks like some sort of art. Thank you. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Oh, look at this original story pitch stuff. Well, that's kind of cool. A little behind the scenes here. The story pitch. I like seeing that sort of stuff. Didn't know this was coming, so that's a neat surprise when you open the box and you see this. Now, this is indicative of the style of the book. And I'm going to admit, this is not my style of book at all. But it is, in some ways, what I like. And by that I mean, I really like underground indies. When I was coming into the comic scene back in the 80s, when you said indie book, it was synonymous with underground. And when I, say underground, I think of like the old black and white Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Usagi Yojimbo, which spun out of Albedo, which, if you know what Albedo was, then you know what I'm talking about. And indies today, people think of indies, they think of like IDW and Dark Horse and Image and Boom, and those are technically independents because they're not Marvel and DC. But honestly, they're a lot more mainstream. They're just small press mainstream. This is like a homegrown indie book. And there's the cover. So look at that. Now, when I say this isn't my style, you can take a look at the cover there. And it's just... I'm not knocking anyone whose style this is. This is not mine. But like I said, I wanted to give this a chance. Who's the guy that did it? It was Larry. There's two Larrys. There's Larry Undead, and there's Larry King. I don't remember. No, that might be the same. My old brain can't keep up. Anyways, if you guys are familiar with this project, you know who did it. I'm curious to see what he did. It was $10, all said and done. That includes shipping. It's not super thick, I would say, by judging. That's like about a double-sized book. It's thicker than a normal comic, and it's cool. I like having these little extras, and I like being a part of something on that. You know, seeing like basically a fan make their first published project and become a reality, and I got to be a help. And you know, Perch has been real good to me. He and I, not that we're best friends or anything, but we've came to be associated before even I had a channel. I had a channel before Perch. But before that, we knew each other on Twitter. Then Perch got a channel. Then Perch became huge. I still became no one, but that's fine. But he's been a real cool guy, and I'm just glad to support that. So that was that. If you didn't care, if you're like, boring, move on. Sorry, we'll get on to the comic book poll. Now, I was at the shop. Let's see. This is 2 weeks of pulls that I got here. And here's the receipts. Now, it's funny. I was at the shop today, and they rang me up, and it was $28.97. And I was like, $28.97. And the girl there that rang me up, she's real nice, but she was like, oh, it's not that much. She just kind of made it off the cuff comment. And I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, I guess $28 isn't that much, but think about this. You get comics 4, sometimes 5 weeks a month. $28 if you're to say round up to 30 for simple math. If you had a 5-week month, that's $150 on your comic book budget. Now this is all, for the most part, this is like new pulls. I don't get back issues often, but sometimes, you know, I'm buying trades. This does not reflect everything that I've bought recently, because I've also bought some trades, and I did get back issues at another store, which I'll cover. So over 2 weeks, this is $50. And again, some people look at that and going, that's not that much. And of course, everyone's budgets vary. But this is just comics. To me, comics is a low budget activity. It's something I very much enjoy, but it's not something I enjoy spending a lot of money on. I've been into other various hobbies, like computer games. I used to be into Nitro RC cars, and that was an expensive hobby. When you're talking about like $1,000 car, and then the parts and fuel and everything to keep it going all the time, that can be expensive. And those type of things I kind of understand, but comics to me are like, you know, and maybe this comes from my childhood. They used to be the price of a candy bar, right? You associate a comic book candy bar. And I don't know about you, but I don't think of like, I want to spend $150 a month on candy bars. So anyways, I'm off in the weeds as I normally do, but it just got me to thinking like, yeah, you know, it's not. And there definitely are people that buy tons of books and spend lots and lots of money and have like, but that's just not what I choose to do. I think comics should be cheap. That's, you know, there are certain activities I think like TV should be cheap, you know, and I mean like regular TV, just watching it. Anyways, I'm gonna move on from this because we're talking about comics. This is my haul, 2 weeks. We'll start off with the Marvel and DC. There is no DC. Moving on to Marvel. Amazing Fantasy. This is from last week. And this is the best book at Marvel. I've talked to a couple people, and they're like, it's just not that good. And I think they're smoking crack. I understand Kari Andrew, who's did the art here on the cover. His style is a little bit different. It's a little bit cartoony. It's a little bit exaggerated proportions. It might not be aesthetically pleasing to everyone. It wasn't to me at first either. When I read Erratic, it really grew on me. Because, I don't know about you, but one of the things for me is I enjoy good rendered, well-rendered illustrations. The stuff you just pretty pictures. But I also really appreciate the ability to tell a story through art. And Kari is one of those types of people. And I think he's really good with body language, visual storytelling, plus his writing. I'm a huge fan of artists that can write. There's a lot of artists that try to write. That it's not the same thing. I'm talking about artists who can write. I'm not talking about the Image Revolution when Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, McFarlane, all those guys start writing on their own books. They're not writers. There are some. Walt Simonson, John Byrne, Frank Miller. Kari Andrews is one of them. His art's getting better and better. Now, admittedly, this book is not the same level of art as Erratic was. It's a little bit rougher. I think he would benefit from a good inker. I think that's the problem. If he wasn't having, and that's the same thing with a lot of these artists, if he didn't have to spend time inking his book, he could devote more time to the pencils, which would be more skillfully rendered. Then the inker could devote all that time, but that's a kind of a lost thing. Anyways, I spent a lot of time on this book, but this book deserves it. This is a 5-issue series. This is number 4. This is an amazing book. It's what I want in a comic book. This is the prototypical thing you imagine comic books to be from your childhood. This is the type of comic book that the Stranger Things kids would want to read. Well, of course, because they're from the 80s. But this is just a fun, imaginative adventure. It's not trying to be super deep and philosophical. It's not trying to be pretentious. I could go on all day about this book. I love this book. Moving on. Undiscovered Country. This is the indies for last week. This is just a solid book. Admittedly, I am a little bit behind because I got a backlog. And someone else was talking about this, and I agree with them. I hadn't solidified this in my mind until they talked about it. But the way books are written today, especially books like this, where it's just big, long saga of a story, it's harder to read in these bite-sized chunks. They talk about writing for the trade. That's kind of what they mean. It's not exactly what they mean. Writing for the trade also has to do with decompression and so forth, but I don't feel necessarily that this book is decompressed as much as I just feel like it's not individual chapters where you read and you get to the end of the last page and you feel like you got a story. This, you feel like you got a portion of a chapter. And for that reason, it just feels better and more coherent when you read it in chunks. I don't know what you can do about that. I mean, because I like the story. Some people say, well, just wait for the trade. And sometimes I do. But I really enjoy collecting ongoing comics. So this is on 17. Congratulations, Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, or some people say Soule. I don't know I don't know if they're making fun of his name or what. But good job that you guys are doing this book and you're ongoing. Hope it keeps going past 50. It's like 50 is the giant milestone these days that no one can seem to hit. But yeah, I think I'm done collecting miniseries. as I get to a miniseries. I believe this is going to be a 12-issue miniseries like 2019 was. This is Blade Runner 2029. I get the Sid Mead covers. Admittedly, this is not the best art for a comic cover. The Sid Mead covers they chose for the 29 series were better. But I love Sid Mead, and I just want to be consistent. And he designed all the original Blade Runner. So, cool. There you go. And Firepower, number 17. We actually already did our Indie Comic Show episode on this book. This book is outstanding. And this is not the book to pick up if this is your first Fire. Like, this is a climax. Well, the penultimate climax issue. So much has been building up over 16 issues. And it finally, a lot of that builds to a head here. We talk about it on the show. If you watch it, you saw what we said. This is a great book. Again, I love collecting ongoing series where I can just stay a part of it and it's with me for years. You know, that's one of the things I love about comics. It's not like you just read the story, boom, you're done, and you move on and forget about it. Every month, I'm reminded, oh yeah, Firepower, oh, I love this book. You read a little bit of it, you get that enjoyment, you talk to your buddies about it, like, oh, isn't that great? And then maybe it disappears from your mind for a little bit, but every month it's going to come back and remind you, and it sticks around. And that time that you spend with it really, it makes a lot more impact. And this is why I don't like miniseries, because it's like, oh, 6 issues and it's gone. It's like, I'll just wait for the trade. Newburn. This is a Chip Zdarsky book with art by Jacob Phillips and Skip and Tosh. My partner in crime over at does a Criminal Cast with me also. He's got me really excited about crime noir stuff with all the Ed Brubaker, the Criminal series. I like Chip Zdarsky. For a while, Daredevil was the best book. Still, it's the second best book at Marvel. Zdarsky's is really evolved as a writer. He's the reason I buy any Marvel at all. His independent stuff is a little hit or miss for me, mostly because of the subject matter. But I was like, oh, you're doing a crime detective book, and Jacob Phillips is cool. So I was like, I'm going to give this one a try. This is number 1. I have read it, and it's good. Moving on to current week. This is DC. No DC. Okay, moving on. Thor. It was Marvel. We cover the Marvel books. So I am behind on Thor. This is God of Hammers. Starts here. So I guess I really need to read the last story. I kind of explained sort of the problem. Marvel is not innocent of telling these kind of like written for the trade stories. It's not Zdarsky. This is Donny Cates. Donny Cates is better than most, and I just fell off. I do really like Thor's one of my favorite Marvel characters. Donny Cates is one of my favorite Marvel writers, not because he's one of the best writers, but he's really good at the job that he has. I don't necessarily get excited if Donny Cates is going to go do indie books, because his skill at writing isn't why I love him. He's a solid writer, but he understands the medium of mainstream comics. He understands what continuity means. He understands why it's important. He understands the value. All of Donny Cates' books matter. And it's a breath of fresh air in this desert of mainstream comics where comics don't matter, where you have characters will be like, oh, Thor will be off in the Avengers doing stuff, and it completely conflicts with what's happening in his own book because there's no editors keeping anything together, and it's infuriating. But Donny Cates can't control that. What he can control is his own writing, and what I love is if you go back starting with the Thanos Wins arc that he did in that Thanos series, I think it was in 2018, or maybe 2017. Can't remember exactly, but he does it's a really great story. And it sets up a lot of things. And it takes place in the future, which is very interesting. So all of his other books that he's done, including Venom, Silver Surfer Black, Guardians of the Galaxy, now Thor, all of that kind of point to that direction of where you saw what happened in Thanos Wins. So I really like that. And then also, you know, he kind of introduced Null and, you know, through the Venom story, but then he did the Silver Surfer Black, which had Silver Surfer meeting Null like a billion years ago. And like it all just connects, and it's real interesting. And that's the way the Marvel Universe used to be. Like, that was one of the exciting things about getting Marvel Comics. Wasn't just because, oh, Spider-Man's great, no, the X-Men are great, but they shared this world. The Marvel Universe itself was a character. And Marvel and now DC have both forgotten that. And they just treat their universe as just like a chalkboard, and they can just erase and just whatever. Nothing matters. And it's like, well, if your books aren't connected, if what happens in Thor doesn't affect Spider-Man or the Avengers or anything, then you're just basically like an indie book. One of the reasons I don't get as much into indies is because, you know, what happens in this indie book doesn't really matter to this indie book. They're both cool stories, but they're not really related. But this, I used to, you know, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a comic book fan, it's late in the morning. I shouldn't be doing this. Anyways, that's my thoughts there. So Thor is one of the last Marvel books that I'm getting. I'm getting one more issue of Daredevil, which admittedly is better than Thor. Chip Zdarsky is probably a better overall writer, even though there's things that Donny Cates is better at. But they're canceling Daredevil at 36. And I'm saying, F you, Marvel. I'm not playing that dumb game anymore. I've been in with Daredevil almost since the beginning. The only issue I don't have of the run is issue number 1. And now I feel soured. I'm like, I don't even feel like trying to go get a number 1 because it's over. Previously, I was like, I've got to get a number 1. I got to complete my collection. I don't like that sour feeling. So Donny Cates has got a new Hulk book. You're going to notice there's no Hulk. I didn't get Hulk because I'm not jumping on that stupid train. You know, every time Donny Cates gets on a book, he does some issues and it gets canceled and Al Ewing takes over. And this time, I guess Al Ewing got canceled. And now Donny Cates is taking over. But I'm done. And plus, I'm not a super big Hulk guy anyway. You know, I might read the books from someone, but I'm tired of Marvel constantly pulling the rug out and canceling the books. Who knows how far Thor will get? Will it beat Daredevil? Will it go past 36 issues? I don't know. I would have continued on with Guardians of the Galaxy after issue 12. If they would have just issued it number 13, I would have given Al Ewing a chance, but they rebooted it. I would have continued on with Venom if they had continued on the numbering, because I like that collecting. I like that consistency. I like sticking with something and being loyal to something that's been good to me. I would have given it a chance. But when you say, nope, we're starting over at number 1, F you, I'm done. And I really tried giving Marvel a chance. I really tried putting my money where my mouth was. And, you know, I used to have this, not a saying, but, you know, a motto. You know, I tell people, like, look, you got to support the books that are good. You know, if you just point out, you know, oh, Marvel sucks and all that, that's fine. Honestly, you know, it's your money, do what you want. But if you don't buy any of the books, then Marvel has no reason to try to cater your business. If you're insistent on not being a customer, there's no real reason why they should put any effort towards you. Now, if all of us just bought the good books, then Thor would be a number 1 seller, Daredevil would be a number 1 seller, you know, and if we didn't buy the shitty books, there wouldn't be an Avengers, there wouldn't be an Echo, there wouldn't be a lot of this crap. I mean, there wouldn't be 12 shitty X-Men books, and our wallets would mean something, but we don't. Unfortunately, some of the best books at Marvel, like Daredevil, don't sell that good. And I tried for a couple years, supporting just the good stuff. I'm going to stick with Thor until Marvel pushes me off. I'm not the kind of guy that's just, but once they do, then I'm off. You know, these companies need to earn your business, not the other way around. Anyways, moving on. Into indies. So Usagi Yojimbo, this is a perennial classic. This is one of my all-time favorite books ever. Is that redundant? Usagi Yojimbo. I don't talk about this book a lot because, quite honest, unless I know you're an Usagi fan, like there's not a lot to talk about. And I don't mean that in a negative fashion, but this is a classic type of book where you can just pick up an issue and read it, and it's a fun story with fun characters and charming art style, and you will just be grinning ear to ear. This is just like comfort food. And Stan Sakai is so amazing in what he's able to do. I can't believe that he's 35 years plus and still churning out stories that feel fresh. But they're not deep. There's not an ongoing arc, 20-issue plot line that I could talk about. Oh, it's just, hey, look, Usagi has this adventure with some bandits and he saves a girl. I don't know. I'm just, it's very simple stuff. And not simple in a bad way. It's simple in like an elegant way. If you think about maybe some of your favorite foods that are very few ingredients, but they're just amazing. That's Usagi Yojimbo in a nutshell. It's not complicated. It's simple and just well executed, like an In-N-Out burger. Speaking of In-N-Out burgers, Echo Lands. Now this is a book that you have to read sideways. And initially, that turned me off. Skip and Tosh, our boy Skip, he got me onto this, and I need to show you. I think I've showed this off before, but this is really neat. First of all, let me catch the light here. Look at the glossy cover. The production value of this book is outstanding. Just looks gorgeous. It feels heavy in your hand. This is a cardstock cover. Now, when you open this book, the art in the inside matches the outside. It's not bait and switch, which is something I appreciate. But this book really utilizes, like, I can't even capture the whole thing in frame, but it really utilizes this space, which I appreciate. It makes me feel like it's not just a gimmick. And when you're holding it up close and in your hands, it's just beautiful. Comics are a visual medium, and I can't say that enough. Writing is important. I mean, it is a story that you're getting here. It's not just an art book, but and admittedly, the writing in this book is not the strong suit at all. It's rather, I want to say it's weak, but it's not that it's bad. I don't read this and go, oh, this is terrible writing. I just feel like it's very light. And that's okay. I mean, I have other books that have writing for depth and, or emotional resonance. But this book, there's almost nothing that compares to this as far as just an art piece. And I really enjoy collecting this. And again, as far as I know, this is just a monthly title. It's hard to tell. Sometimes they don't tell you when it's a miniseries, but Skip really liked it when he got the first issue and he told me about it. And I was like, I kind of looking for a book. And I saw it at the store hands-on, and I was like, I need this book. So it's managed to catch me first 3 issues. Now I'm on 4. Like I was talking before, it's earned my business. And I love that. I love being excited about books. Check this out if you haven't. Go to your store. Another thing that's interesting about Echo Lands, I don't buy it, but they're doing an interesting experiment where they do forget what it's called. It's like it's not director's cut, but it's something like that. And it's a month behind. So when issue 4 of this came out, I think it's called the Raw cut or Raw edition. Issue 4 comes out, then issue 3 of the Raw edition comes out, which is issue 3, and it's the art with no coloring. And it's really cool. It's a different experience. I mean, the coloring on this is great too. I just can't afford to get both books. But if you're a big fan, it might be something you want to do. Just letting you know that it's out there. I like that. This is very much feels like a passion project from the creator. At the back of the book, he's got music, playlists that he talks about when he was like making the book, what he was listening to. And that may or may not interest you. It's quite a lot of music. I kind of just like perusing over it and seeing what, because some of the stuff is stuff that I like. Some of it I've never heard of. Some of it's stuff I don't like. But I like that it's there. It makes me feel more connected to the creator. I like when they put, musings and writings in the back of the book, letters, pages, things like that. It adds overall to the value of the book and makes it kind of something more to look forward to. It's not like, oh, here's a book. It finally came out this month. Open it up 10 minutes later, you're done. Moving on. Like, if you're doing that with comics, I mean, read comics however you want, but I feel like you're not getting a lot of value out of that. I'd rather have a comic that sits with me. When I was a kid and I bought comics and I didn't have as many different entertainment choices, and I might only buy a couple comics a month, sometimes, I'd have that new X-Men issue that just came out or whatever, and I would read it, and then like a week later, I'd go read it again, and it stuck with you, and it really... Nowadays, it's like I feel like comics are so much more disposable. Like we get it, put it in a bag, put it in a box, forget about it. And it's like, yeah, you can do that if you want, but don't you want to get more love on your books? Anyways, I'm in the weeds again. This is Decorum number 8, finally. I don't know how late I think this is supposed to come out in March. This is one of the books we feature on the Unnamed Indie Comic Show. This is Jonathan Hickman, the guy who was supposed to revolutionize X-Men and didn't. But I am going to hold that against him, but only for X-Men. Hickman is still a fantastic writer. This book is excellent. This is not a book for everyone. This is a hard, crunchy, cerebral... When I talk about like deep, pretentious, sophisticated, this Decorum is all of that. Jonathan Hickman is almost, I don't want to say too good for comics, but I feel like he's trying to do things that really most comic book fans aren't looking for. But he's popular, so I guess I'm wrong on that. Now, one thing I want to give a shout out, I had to pull this out, is this is a thick book. So it's the final issue, but they had a lot of story I appreciate. Now, when I saw this, I was like, oh gosh, it's, premium binding. It's going to be an expensive book. $4.99. Now, it is more than the $3.99, but it's a nice thick cover. The pages feel nice and thick paper. This is a premium comic experience. And given the $3.99 sort of bar set for the value of a typical comic, I think $4.99 is an outstanding price. They easily could have marked this book up $5.99, $6.99, potentially even $7.99. If this were DC, this would be $7.99. One of their Batman books they have is probably not this thick, and it's $7.99. So kudos, Jonathan Hickman, for doing that. You're really, really late, and I think it would have been insult to injury if you would have been this many months late, and then you would have given us like a $7.99 finale after all that time. It would have, but I feel like so much better that I'm like, okay, you were late, whatever. You obviously had things going on. I think it was your Substack, which I'm not mad about. But one thing though, this is a wraparound cover, and all these books have them. They're beautiful art. But when you do this kind of format, can't open the book. I'm not going to break the spine to see the art. So that's probably wasn't planned. It was probably thought, you know, they imagined it being a staple bound. Probably should have just been a 9-issue series or 10-issue series, maybe. But there you go. That's Decorum. Then got a special treat, and I was lucky. Make friends with your comic book shop people, the staff. Let me tell you why. I only learned about this book on Wednesday when I was at the shop looking at stuff, and they didn't have my books, and I was looking at new releases digitally, like on the League of Comic Book site. And on the new releases, it was this book, and the cover caught me. Hopefully you can see it without the glare here. Now I'm a big animal fan. I love dogs particularly. I've talked about this before. If comics have dogs, it's gonna grab my attention. It was called Good Boy. It's an indie book from Source Point Press. I don't really know Source Point Press, but I was like, what is this? I'm short on. I'm not short on books, but I'm light on my pulls because I don't get DC anymore, and that was like 3/4 of my pull list. And then even, you know, Decorum, this is the last issue, so I don't have to worry about getting more of these. I'm not going to be getting, after the next Daredevil, I won't be getting that anymore. So I have holes opening up. So I was like, you know what, I can afford to jump on a new book. And it got to thinking about books like Stray Dogs and We Live, and a lot of these like smaller books when they come out and they're like way under the radar, and then they blow up and everyone's like, oh God, I want to get this book. And you're like, now it's like $200 to get Stray Dogs #1 or something, you know? And I was like, I don't want to be in that position. I don't necessarily think, I'm not trying to speculate that that's going to happen. All I'm trying to say is I liked the art on this. Like the cover, it was appealing. The concept, Good Boy. I like that it was a small press. Spoiler alert. And I'll show you what it looks like inside. My shop is a pretty sizable shop, and they only ordered 4 copies of this. Now, they're pretty conservative on new stuff if people don't pre-order. But still, 4 issues of a #1. So I'm thinking this is not going to be a massive amount of books. Now, the art inside, I'm very pleased with. It's admittedly a cartoony kind of style art, but I am happy. What I imagine this book to be, I think this art style fits. And I very much, as you see with Usagi Yojimbo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm cool with cartoon style art when it fits the right style of book. I don't want to see this in my Marvel comics or DC, but yeah. So the synopsis of this book, it feels a little bit like a spin on John Wick. I read a quick synopsis and it said something like this is a world where the dogs and humans are both like sentient, you know, humanoid beings or whatever. They live in the world together. As you can see, it's a dog person. So this guy is partners with he has a human partner, and the human partner dies, and so he's got to go kill a bunch of people. Kind of reverse John Wick, right? Kill John Wick's dog. He goes and kills a bunch of people. That's what made me think of. So hopefully it's fun. I'll let you know more about it, but bring that to your attention. You may not even have known to look for it. So if it is something that interests you, call your store and say, hey, pull me a copy. It's $3.99. Then I saw this today. Now, this was not there Wednesday. Obviously, nothing was there Wednesday. I had no idea this was coming. This wasn't even announced on League of Comic Geeks. And I saw this as they were putting the books on the shelf. I called my store today, and I was like, hey, any chance the books that were supposed to come Wednesday, did they come in? They're like, yep, they're in. So I was like, great. I zoomed down. They hadn't even put them on the shelf yet. They were still bagging and boarding them. But they had a big counter as they were doing it, so you could kind of browse on the counter. And I saw this. This is #1, special collector's issue, local comic book day exclusive. Now, this I haven't read this yet. This is available digitally on, I'm trying to remember the name of the website. I can't remember, something Syndicate, or I'm sorry, I can't remember. We talked about this on the last Criminal Cast. But you can find, if you just do Friday comic download, I think it's called Panel Syndicate. I think that's it. Anyways, it's a website run by this guy, Marcos Martin, the artist. And what it appears to be is Marcos collaborates with a bunch of different writers and they do comics, and then this website allows them to distribute directly to consumers, no middlemen. And what's really interesting about it, though, is it's pay what you want. So all the comics that are there, you can download and you just name your price. So you want to pay a penny, you can pay a penny. I'm not suggesting that. I mean, if a comic's worth, give them some love. Everyone's finances are different. Pay what you want. There's 4 issues of Friday. Originally, this was digital only. There's now a trade of the first 3. We're going to actually be doing that on the Criminal Cast. This came out, and I'm a big Ed Brubaker fan, and I saw the floppy, and I was like, no, I got to get this. So Skip, if you didn't know about this, you're probably going to be excited to get this. So Ed Brubaker collaborates. Marcos has done several books with Brian K. Vaughan that are on that site, available to get. So it's not a bunch of chintzy stuff. This is quality. A lot of these type of sites, like you feel like it's just like webtoon stuff. No, this is that Panel Syndicate or whatever is cool. So anyways, this is available. It was $3.99. It's floppy. I'm a comic collector, so I was like, oh, cool. I'm happy to read digital. Like I said, I bought all 4 of the current issues that are out digitally. And I was like kind of dismayed because it's only a digital book. And I was like, well, I guess I can get the trade. But I like having floppies of books I like to collect. All right, finally, there's one book that was actually missing. Here's my iPad. I'll let my friend borrow it. Here's my wallpaper on my iPad, and you can see, oh, look, it's 4:11 in the morning. Jesus, this is going on forever. I dox myself almost. You can see my shadow. Here is the other book that I pulled that's not there, so I'm just showing the cover. Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. We featured this on the last Unnamed Indie Comic Show. If you want to know more about this book, we covered issues 1 and 2. This is a phenomenal book. It has become one of our feature titles. Highly recommend checking this book out. It's by Rick Remender and Andre Lima Araujo. I'm not going to talk too much. I've already spent so much time. Eric's falling asleep, drooling on a can of Pringles. So there's that. And then finally, some of the books I'm getting, we talked about digital only. Comixology is an app that I love. I have lots of digital comics on Comixology. I don't necessarily like buying only digital, but what I do love about Comixology or digital comics is getting like trades, getting just reader copies of books that you want. The advantage is no shelf space. You don't have to worry about that. And number 2, super cheap. Currently, as a matter of fact, go check out Comixology. They're having a massive, massive sale. I think it might, hopefully it's not over, but I think it runs till tomorrow. I can't remember. I'm talking like 90% off books, like trades for 99 cents. Lots of good stuff. I got to really check after this because I have a cart that I haven't actually clicked pay on. But I wanted to point out some books that I'm huge for the Comixology originals. And you don't have to be a Comixology Unlimited member to get the Comixology originals. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get these also through the Kindle app. Now, you can't access Comixology Unlimited content that way, but the Comixology originals are both unlimited and Kindle, if that makes sense. So if you're like, I don't want to pay $5.99 a month for Comixology Unlimited, I think you're missing out, but I understand. If you have Kindle, you can get Kindle app on your phone. You can get Kindle app on your PC, tablets. It's really easy. And almost everyone's a Prime member. If you're not a Prime member either, then I don't know what to tell you. But Snow Angels is Jeff Lemire and Jacques. It's a 10-issue total series. I do the stupid season shit that I hate. I just wish it just numbered 1 through 10. But whatever, it's digital. I can't collect it anyway. So, but I pay $5.99 a month. I just access this for free. This is a great book. One of my top books of the year. This is so good. It's sad. I wish there were floppies to collect. Another book is this book. Scott Snyder has got this book called Clear. Now, he's doing like 8 books through Comixology. He's got this mega deal to do Comixology original books. Scott Snyder's a big name. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is a big name. This book is my favorite Scott Snyder book in a while. And I buy Noctera and I buy Undiscovered Country, and those are good. I enjoy those. This book I'm in love with, and it's Francis Manapul's art, who I was never a big Francis Manapul guy, and I don't know if this is showing up well on the comic or, through the lens of the camera here, but this comic is gorgeous. The coloring, it's eye-popping. It's kind of got, some people go like, oh, the coloring, it's got that bisexual lighting, whatever. No, the coloring it makes sense. This is think of like the 80s type of synth wave, it's kind of that retro that's popular. This is a very Blade Runner-esque style comic. In fact, I encourage you, if you have any synthwave music that you like, play it while you're reading this book. It'll really add to the experience. I'm not going to talk in detail. Maybe I'll do a specific video on it, but I wanted to mention that this is a book that I've been getting. I don't have to buy it because it's part of the original, so that's kind of cool. Another book is Demons. This actually came out first. This one's Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo teaming back up. They're doing, and this is issue 2, which I haven't read yet, so I'm kind of probably risking spoiling some stuff for me. But if you look at this, it's going to remind you of Spawn, because Greg Capullo, that's where he came from, right? I know he's done stuff before Spawn, but he made his name on Spawn. And this book kind of feels like, what if Scott Snyder did his version of Spawn? So the first issue was just okay, but I'm always willing to give more of a shot, to books. And especially Scott Snyder takes sometimes a little bit to get going. The art's gorgeous. And again, what the beauty of this is, you don't have to go and spend $3.99 or $4.99 and risk buying a shitty book. That's the great thing about it. And he's got another book, which I haven't read yet, Night of the Ghoul. I've been hearing some chatter about it, though. People are really happy with it. I'm not a big horror guy. I know Scott Snyder's, that's his roots. I'm going to read all of it because I do like Scott. I wouldn't be buying all these books. I'll tell you that, though. I would probably be very selective. If I were paying, I probably would have bought the first issue of Demons, and I don't think I would be buying the second because that first was just okay. But because I'm not having to keep paying for it, I'm going to keep reading it and hope it gets better. Clear, I absolutely would be buying. I'm lamenting that, because the art, look at these covers too. They're just gorgeous. And then there's All Nighter, which is a Chip Zdarsky book, and it's about, I guess, a guy who becomes a vampire, and then he decides to use his powers to become a superhero. Sounds weird, interesting. I've read a few pages of it, but I got tired and fell asleep. But I'm going to continue on because, again, this might not be a book that I would have picked up in the store because I'm very selective, but I love that I can read it. The bad thing is that these books, like, oh, it's so good, I wish I had the floppies. I do believe all the Scott Snyder books are going to be reprinted by Dark Horse later on as trades. Also, Snow Angels is coming out in a collected format in February. So you will be able to get these books in a physical format But I wanted to let you know because these are books I am getting as well. I'm not just getting the floppies that you see. Finally, I know this is like the longest video I've done in a long time. This is Eric's favorite part, except he's fallen asleep. Back issues. I've been getting a few back issues. I saw this in the store. I learned about this through some research because we've been doing all things Ed Brubaker. And we're going to include Sleeper because even though it's a DC title, it's not really the superhero-y stuff. It's kind of the crime noir style. And I learned about Sleeper. There's a prequel book to Sleeper that involves Grifter, who's one of my favorite characters. Like, oh, that's neat. And then somehow I got connected and I found out, oh, there's this book called Coup d'etat, subtitle Sleeper, that Ed Brubaker. I was like, what? And this is not collected any trades that I'm aware of. I tried to look, but I was like, and Jim Lee did the art? Ed Brubaker and Jim Lee? So this is issue number 1. Of course, Jim Lee only does the first issue, but I was like, that's dope. Jim Lee's one of my favorite artists of all time. Brubaker's one of my favorite writers. So just owning this issue, I had to get it. I saw that in the back issue bin. Now, Paradiso. Skip and Tosh had been, and not just Skip, lots of people, but I talk more to Skip. We're hyping up this book, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. And I was like, okay, whatever. It looks really pretentious and kind of whatever. But people are saying it's good. And I'm like, yeah, I believe you. It's good. It's not my cup of tea. Like, I'm not interested. It just did not look like my thing. And everyone was talking about it. Skip kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read this because you're saying it's so good. And I do try to be open-minded. Even if it's like, I don't think it's up for me, I'm going to try it. And holy shit, Many Deaths of Layla Starr is phenomenal. I feel like it's one of the best comics I've ever read. It's a work of art. It's not your typical type of comic. It doesn't give me everything that I want out of a comic, and it's not like a superhero thing. It's very existential. It's very philosophical, metaphorical. It's more like literature. It just makes you think about life. More than just being a plot-heavy story, but it's beautiful. It's just, I can't even express the writing, and I don't want to, I'm already so long on this video. But anyways, I've been hearing about Ram V for a long time, and I know the guy's good. He's does some stuff over at DC. He took over on Justice League Dark after James Tynion, and everything that he's done, people talk about it. I didn't know how good he could be until I read The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which is just and immediately he shot to the top of the list for me. Is like, I am so impressed by this book. I'm gonna now want to read everything you do. That's how good that book was. So I found out about this Paradiso book, and I was like, I don't want to hunt down back issues. It's an 8-issue miniseries. My store usually sells minimum cover price, so 4 times that's $32 plus tax. I'll just get the trades. But I managed to track down issues at a cheap price. So I ended up getting issues 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, but wait, there's more. Now some of these are for Skip, because I told Skip about my find, and he was all excited too. And so I picked some of these up for Skip. So I got some other issues. Issues 1. Now these are the variant covers. You'll notice they look a little different if you're paying attention. 3, 4, and 5. And I also found the Virgin covers for 7 and 8. So there you go. Lots of Paradiso. A lot of people are like, who gives a shit? I know it's a lot of Paradiso books and it's not like wowing you, but Skip will be excited. Sorry for the thuds. I just realized like the mic's probably picking that up pretty loud. Those are my back issues. Eric would be proud of me, except he hates indie comics. But I think I got at least as many back issues as I did new issues. So I'm very excited. This was a cool Thanksgiving week. I got to have a good, really good Thanksgiving dinner with some friends, and got some comics, and it's just overall, it's been some good days. Like I said, hopefully you have as well. Don't forget, Friday will be on the last Wednesday of the month. We do the Criminal Cast. We're going to be covering the 3 issues of Friday that is in the trade, or you can go to that Panel Syndicate site, get them for whatever price you want to pay. You can get this at your local comic book shop. Support good comics. Read good comics. Take a chance. If you're like me and we all have biases, right? And sometimes you're going to look at things and go, I'm not into that. Take a chance. Go out of your comfort zone once in a while. I'm not saying replace every book. You know, we all have our favorites and things that we like, but try new things. Sometimes it won't always be your favorite, but it'll expose you and it'll give you a chance to, especially if it's like new writers. There's just, man, Ed Brubaker is in another league. So I'm glad. All my favorite books that I read are all books that people recommend. I would never be reading Ed Brubaker had people not recommended. Decorum. I didn't know who Jonathan Hickman was until Skip. Echolands. Firepower was recommended. I was kind of resisted that book. Anyways, this is going on forever. It's gonna be like an hour-long video. Hopefully, you got to listen in a car ride or while you're mowing the lawn. It's probably not good to listen when you're mowing the lawn. It's pretty loud, but I don't know what you do. You do your life. Hopefully, you got lots of good leftover Thanksgiving dinner. Tell me what comics you pulled down in the comments section. I love to hear. Tell me what your top pulls are, the ones that are like you're exciting, like when you get them on Wednesday, like you're really enthusiastic about it, right? They're really winning you over. I know that all of us have comics that we want to be better than they are. You're still buying them because you're like, I'm a fan of this character, but it could be better. But that's fine, I guess. But I'm more interested in hearing like the ones that you're like, oh, this book is so good. Like, I just can't wait to get the next issue. I think we need to do more of that. That's why I do comic haul videos like this. I know some people look at this and go, why did they're going to watch a video of some dude showing off a bunch of comics? And I get it. But if you love this hobby and you love the medium and the art form, like I do. I mean, some of my favorite videos are comic haul videos. So I like to see what people are buying, but more so I like to hear why they're buying it. And that's why my video is super long. If you don't like my video being super long, if you like short videos, you can go over and watch Comic Book Frog. I don't know his link, but I think if you just type in Comic Book Frog, I think that's the name of his video. You can go and see a little Puppet Froggy talk about comics, his comic book pull list, and it's like 3 minutes long. So there you go. Some of us only last 3 minutes. Some of us can go all day. Cha-ching.